Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Afefe with Touch by Tarot and Beyond. If you haven't landed here before, welcome. I hope you stick around and hit that like and subscribe button. I am a tarot reader, clearly. I'm also a former journalist, newspaper journalist, and I am initiated as a priestess into both Wiccan and African traditions. So I mix all that up and try to go to spirit and get some deeper insights on what's happening politically. And so I'm checking in with you Wednesday morning. I'm taping this. It'll come out live on the platform later on this afternoon. Got a couple of things I want to look at today, you all. What about that Sleepy Don? We're definitely calling him that today. Sleepy Don at that cabinet meeting yesterday. But this thing where he came out and said point blank to JD Vance's face, called him incompetent. Now, he was having a moment. Clearly, he was in and out of consciousness. We all, you all have seen that by now. It's clear, right? But there's a really good article for those of you who might want to look it up in the New Republic. Edith Olmsted is her name. And she was there apparently covering it. She made some really interesting observations and quoted Sleepy Don when he said he was talking about Governor Tim Walz and calling him incompetent. But then for some reason, he went back to the debate that happened between Walz and JD Vance and said both of them were incompetent, right? Called JD incompetent. And according to Edith Olmsted, looked like glowered at him, and they caught a picture of it, like him, for a moment he woke up out of his stupor and, was glaring at JD. We're going to get a better look at what that was really all about. And also remembering, you all, Spirit said a while ago on many platforms, many readers got the gist that JD Vance is not only like just waiting his turn, like thinking about 2028, trying to assume the mantle of the GOP. His whole stunt with, Turning Point behind Charlie Kirk's killing. And trying to heighten his profile around that. So we can see the moves that he's making. Spirit has already said none of it's gonna stick. He's not gonna be catapulted in the ways that he's hoping. But that he had also been sort of behind the scenes, angling for sort of a soft coup. Like he's been actively working to dismantle Sleepy Don's hold on the MAGA movement, on the whole situation, right? In DC, taking over DC. I want to take a look and see what's happening really between Sleepy Don and JD, and if in fact this has reignited JD's desire to speed up the timeline of Sleepy Don's exit, one way or another, health, whatever might happen. Let's see what's gonna go. The Wheel of Fortune, karma. Bottom of the deck. He's looking this really irritated and aggravated and embarrassed JD Vance, because remember, in the midst of these cabinet meetings are all of these praise and worship sessions, right? You got Kristi Noem talking about thank you for not allowing any hurricanes. Thanks to you, we didn't have any hurricanes this year. Like, woo! It never ceases to amaze me. I don't know about you, but just the degree of absurdity. Wow. Okay, Spirit. What's JD Vance going to do in response to outright being called incompetent to his face? The sun. JD is a Leo. The sun is ruled by Leo, and he is a Leo. Somehow, I think, in some twisted way, JD may be thinking that comment worked to his favor. Am I right about that, Spirit? In other words, everybody could see that Sleepy Don was half out of it, or more than half out of it. And he's thinking, Two of Cups. He's thinking somehow he's going to brush it off, to Sleepy Don's face. JD's going to brush it off like, haha, I heard you, but I didn't hear you. It happened, but it didn't happen. He's going to try and brush it off. But at the same time, the Hermit comes. Notice all these major arcana showing up. We started out the Wheel of Fortune, then we got the Sun, and now we got the Hermit. It does make him feel isolated, JD. The Hermit can indicate this sort of, okay, I got to just go and do me now. Clearly, I don't have any support from you. I can't trust you. You clearly think nothing of me. It shouldn't have been any surprise, but the Hermit also is a card ruled by Virgo that says, now I'm going to go get to work. I'm going to get to work. I'm gonna do what I have to do on my own. There's a clear, Spirit is showing me scissors. Like there's a clear cutting away where now JD is like, I'm going for self. Spirit, is he going to try and work behind the scenes? The Moon, here comes another major arcana. Behind the scenes, no less. You heard me say that. Ask Spirit that, right? What happens in the Moon? Very often things that are done in the dark, but that eventually get revealed. There's light shed on them later. There is a tremendous amount, and Spirit is bringing it. And the Moon can indicate psychosis or something where, psychologically somebody's gone, right? Or on the way out. There's a lot of, you get it, you get the drift, right? The whole idea of what's happening with Sleepy Dawn's decline, potential dementia, blah, 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 right? For entertainment purposes only, gotta say it. That's what's happening. Somehow, JD Vance is going to go behind the scenes to whom? I'm not sure. Is Marco Rubio? Because they've been working together interestingly lately, more so than I thought. None of it's real, but it's like who in this mix? The Four of Pentacles. I'm not going to show you that card because it's a little adult. And some of my decks are that way. I'm working out of the Badass Tarot today. But the Four of Pentacles, holding on. Solidifying the people around him who don't like Sleepy Dawn, but have used him, but he's going to offer himself up more as a tool to be used. The Peter Thiels of the world, the Elon Musks of the world, the billionaire class. And here comes the Fool. Now, y'all saw me shuffle this deck. And here comes the Fool. JD Vance has come away from that meeting yesterday, lines clearly drawn in the sand, and remembering as well, part of what I think is the betrayal that he's feeling, JD, is, remember, about a month or so ago, we never really understood the full backstory, but Sleepy Dawn and Melania went to JD and Usha's house for dinner. Remember that about a month ago? Like, what was that all about? They're not friends, right? The wives are not friends. The Fool. There's, and coming with that Hermit that we saw as well. So I'm going to go for self. I'm going to take a different approach. And my question was around Marco Rubio. Is JD going to try and build now more specifically, I'm hearing the word accelerated, like an accelerated timeline. Because with that Moon, I know people have been talking about the 25th Amendment, but that's a really, section, Article 4, I think, 25th Amendment. Get him up out of there. Just snatch him out. But from what I understand, that requires a 2/3 majority in both the House and the Senate. At this point, I still think that's a stretch. Articles of impeachment, a renewed call or a new call. Is he going to secretly go behind the scenes and start working with people? King of Wands, that's him. He's a Leo, fire. He's fired up. He's angry. And I also feel like this is someone that he would go to, JD will go to. Is this someone within Congress that JD trusts enough? Page of Cups. Tentative. He's really, really tentative about who he can trust to have those kinds of conversations. 2 cards just came, but here we go. Justice and the Ace of Swords, you all. JD is about to amp up some sort of steps behind the scenes, going to people in Congress, because again, I think impeachment is the only way to go. And that leads me also to Venezuela. The whole Pete Hegseth thing aside, which we know that man is toast one way or another, right? One way or another, Hegseth is toast. Now we're also hearing about the report on Signal, his Signal chat usage. They're trying to squash that, but I think that's going to come out. Hegseth is in so much trouble. But here's the deal. If the plan all along has been to actually go to war and declare war against Venezuela, to oust Maduro without congressional approval, is that the line in the sand? Is that what gets the impeachment bus really rolling within Congress? Because Congress is slowly but surely, both chambers, House and Senate, are waking up. I'm going to talk about the Afton Bain situation in a moment, and the loss, but what that's going to mean. But I want to stay on track. Spirit. If this administration moves forward on its plans to go to war with Venezuela, will that be what the tipping point? Will that push Congress to act and actually begin impeachment proceedings? Will that push them to act? We have the Eight of Pentacles. They're already looking at it. Somebody's already looking at, okay, we might have to do this. If he does this, if he proceeds, and the Five of Pentacles, they don't feel like they have enough support. Those who would be in favor and those who even would be leaning toward it, they're just not comfortable yet. Will they stand up and say, you cannot declare this war? Only Congress has the authority. The Empress. I think so. And the Empress in this situation, you all, I think is pertaining to the world, to world events, to what happens on Mother Earth, to what happens in other countries. Yes. If Sleepy Don goes forward with this, for all intents and purposes, looks like that's the plan. Congress is going to fight back and say, you do not have the authority to do this, and we're not going to give you our authority to do this. And there's judgment. The rubber meets the road. The rubber meets the road, you all. Venezuela is another situation. They just reminded me of the Epstein files, and I think a lot of people have been hoping and relying on the fact that when enough evidence came out around connecting Sleepy Don to the Epstein situation, that in and of itself would spark articles of impeachment that would gain enough support, right, to carry it through, to see it through. But this judgment in reference to Venezuela, that's the thing, because that seems to be, Spirit is saying, on a timeline basis, that seems to be the more prevalent option, or where activities are going to reach that zenith or that crest, where something has to be done right now. We already know, going back to the Epstein files, they've been scrubbing those files. They've been redacting Sleepy Don's name. Like, that's been in the works for months now. So whatever, we know that the clock is ticking on Bondi having to produce produce the files. But it's going to be such a mess that then the fight continues over the redactions that have been made. So basically what Spirit is saying, you all, is there's a timeline shift between which of these most pressing paramount issues is going to keep the wheels on the bus going, keep gas in the engine of the bus. And it looks like this situation with Venezuela is it. Page of Cups, the flow starting to flow faster. And the Moon. There is so much fear. Nobody wants to be the one in Congress who really spearheads this, but secretly, because the Moon also is what happens sometimes in the dark of night, right? When you don't see it coming, but then light is shed on it. Spirit. Is that going to be his downfall? Among the many, many things, will this situation with Venezuela, the Nine of Swords, he sees it coming. He sees it coming. And the Hermit. He feels isolated, increasingly isolated, increasingly paranoid. The Moon, increasingly like going through a state of psychosis, turning on his own, calling everybody incompetent. He didn't stop yesterday at that cabinet meeting. He didn't stop with J.D. Vance. He also said that while looking at the members of his cabinet, he also said that while he had a lot of, he got this thing, a lot of high IQ people, that he also had some people wasn't quite so sure about. I wrote it down. He said a couple of them I'm a little concerned about, referring to the members of his cabinet. They all heard that, and the Hierophant, government structure, tradition. He recognizes that he's no longer leading the ship, you all. He recognizes that, and he is now worried, if I do give the absolute word, here is what I want you to do on Venezuela, that it won't be obeyed, that he's not going to have the backing to do it. Congress and otherwise, members of his cabinet, he doesn't trust them. And the Eight of Wands, he recognizes that the speed at which he's losing control over the administration, over his cabinet already, and not to even mention the MAGA movement, right? All right. That said, Spirit brought up, of course, we're all aware of the results from the election in the Tennessee last night, right? And Epps won out ultimately over Acton Bain. Not surprising, hurts, but we also saw how close those margins were. Absolutely, Spirit's been saying for a while, other readers on the platform have been saying, and we've been seeing even in the news and traditional media coverage, psychic stuff aside, that that more and more GOP members of Congress are out. They're just out. They're either going to retire, they're going to decide not to run for re-election, because the difference, things have escalated to where, some months ago, we talked about it, that the fear was being primaried, right? The fear is not just about being primaried anymore. For those who would think about seeking re-election, the fear is being harmed. That's the fear. And that's why they're going to leave. Does that position the Dems, like all of these things lining up for the Democrat, and there's justice. I don't even have to go farther on this part, you all. Absolutely. The scales starting to be rebalanced in favor of the Dems. Now, we have also looked at whether that timeline could be moved up, and it won't even take until the midterms. I'm seeing more while we're here. Will this happen before the midterms? The Ace of Cups. There's something. 2026 is going to be quite a ride, you all. There's something where, and so that would be through retirements, because if we're not talking about re-elections in the midterms, that would be the retirements. Oh, and I'm also getting they're reminding me, the gerrymandering situation, the redistricting, the maps, right? So far, Indiana is holding, and Indiana seemed, I think, Sleepy John they thought that was a total thumbs up. Like, we got them, they're going to do it. And Indiana is, their state is saying, we're not doing it. Queen of Pentacles, I feel like that's Acton Bain. We'll see more from her. She is far from done, especially because of the numbers and the turnout. Remembering as well, those numbers, she could not have gotten that far had it not been Republican voters who swung, period, in one of the reddest of the red areas, regions in the country. So we'll see more from her. The Ten of Swords, she's feeling like she gave it all she had. She is still extremely disappointed. Why wouldn't she be? But, and there are fears, and there she comes as the Empress. We're going to see a lot more from Acton Bain, you all. That Ten of Swords is also from the people in Tennessee who recognize the fact that Epps was elected. Forget about it. Their jobs, healthcare, prices, every single platform on which this regime is standing that is hurting and harming people, that they're going to see that, and they are aware of that. There are a lot of people in Tennessee, even those who did not vote, Spirit just said to me, even those who did not vote, who recognize this is bad. But again, the upswing is the fact that a Democratic candidate was able to move a region that red that far in her direction speaks volumes, and that's going to amplify and speed up the timeline of a lot of retirements. All right, I want to take a look, you all, also at, many of you have been reaching out to me around the Affordable Care Act. We remember when the shutdown, when the Dems, the feelings we have about it, I get it, but when the Dems decided to work with the GOP to end the shutdown, they were given this so-called promise that there would be a vote, that they would work together on the Affordable Care Act, the subsidies and extensions, because that's all about to expire the end of this year, December 31st, right? Now you got Mike Johnson running around saying, well, I don't know if we can get a plan together, time's ticking, don't know what we can do. John Thune is, well, I know that's what we said we'd do, but so many in the GOP party just don't want to approve the extension. They don't want that funding. These so-called savings accounts that they're proposing to give people, what was it, $2,000 to try and, go in the market and select their own health care, but the cost even of that to furnish that little amount of money to people, like, where is that money going to come from? So you got the GOP, especially on the Senate side, that are saying, we don't like none of it. Spirit, I want to go to Spirit and see, is there going to be a plan? Are they going to be able to come up with a plan? I think they're supposed to do it by next week is the deadline. Excuse me. I'll take a sip of my coffee. Is there going to be a plan, Spirit? Are they going to come up with a plan to extend the Affordable Care Act? Is Congress going to come up with a plan before the deadline, before the end of the year, before the end of this month, to extend the Affordable Care Act, or to address, have a solid plan to help people maintain their health care? Are they going to do that? The Hangman, nope. And the Eight of Cups, I'm not going to ignore that there, and Justice at the bottom of the deck. Okay, there's our answer, you all. I think the time is going to run out. Unfortunately, horrifically, tragically, like for real. And so while people have been getting notices already around escalating costs, many just can't do it. January. But we have also seen, there's like a whole laundry list, Spirit is saying, of here's why we have to flip this in the midterms. Here's all the reasons. And among them, certainly, one that is touching people in very real ways, and the devil. Talk to me, Spirit, talk to me. And the devil. Enough is enough. And this is also going to be a lot of anger towards those GOP Congress people who, despite everything that they clearly know is about to happen with regards to people being able to afford health care and maintain health care, knowing it clearly that they have decided to not move. Hangman and the devil. There's a Spirit. I want to go deeper on this devil. Spirit, is this also them removing themselves? Seven of Pentacles and the Four of Wands. I got it. Something made me go deeper on that devil. This is also, as ridiculous and as crazy as it sounds, this is also people in Congress feeling chained to Sleepy Don and wanting, where's my Seven of Pentacles, so saying we're trying to figure something out. They want him to come up with a solution. Now, he was a proponent of this pay people individually, and then he swung back. You know, we know how he goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. He said, he was one who said, well, we'll give everybody some money and they can do their own healthcare savings accounts. We could come up with that. Perhaps it would be cheaper than extending the subsidies for the Affordable Care Act. That was one option. Then he swung back the other way and said, well, I don't know, maybe we should go ahead and extend it. So they want him to make the call that they can then use as a shield to say, you know, it was his call, and so we felt like we had to support it. But the Ten of Wands is, it won't work. It's too much. People see it for what it is. You, members of Congress, could have intervened and made the call and put something and then pressured Sleepy Don to sign off on it. You could have taken charge, and you should have taken charge, and you didn't. And there's the Six of Cups. We relied on you. We trusted you to take care of us. And also Six of Cups can be a very a card of innocence, a card of children, especially. I think we're going to see and hear a lot of stories about the impact of the lack of health care, not just on the populace at large, but specifically children. And that is going to send even the MAGA faithful into a tailspin, to have them say, no more. I'm not dealing with you anymore. All right. The last thing I want to look at, you all, today is, from what I understand, today there's supposed to be a Senate hearing on proceeding to prosecute what they are calling rogue judges. Basically, any judges who have, you know, given rulings against the administration. So they're looking at impeaching them. They're Ted Cruz, etc. That whole contingent. They're going forward to try and build a case, build momentum to impeach the judges, federal judges who have ruled against the administration. Chief among them is Chief Justice, what's his name, James Boasberg, out of D.C., out of the District of Columbia, U.S. District Court in the District of Columbia. We know that Boasberg has said he was the judge who issued that ruling around sending the immigrants to El Salvador, right? And we also hear now that he is looking very closely at Tr0mp, because Tr0mp has been identified now as the person who was in charge and who okayed sending them anyway, despite Boasberg's order, right? So he said, I'm about to pick this thing back up and go after it. I'm not going to let this slide that you did that. I think there's a teeter-totter there, because he now is going after Tr0mp, who clearly has been identified as, you know, the one who authorized sending those immigrants to El Salvador, despite that ruling not to do so. Because he said that, now they're going after him. He has said, from what I understand, Judge Boasberg has said, I'm not coming to talk to y'all. I'm not going to let you pull me on the carpet and rake me over the coals because I was upholding the law and because somebody clearly defied a federal court order, right? I just want to take a look at, is this going to go anywhere? Or is this going to go the way of like a James Comey, Tish James cases where the DOJ has no leg to stand on? Ooh, I had my cover card for the deck in there. The Five of Swords, yeah, they don't even know how to make the case against these judges, and in particular, Boasberg. There's such confusion within the DOJ and judgment. This man is not afraid. Judge Boasberg is not afraid, and he's not going to, just as he said, I'm not letting that slide. I'm not going to pretend that you defied my order and I just forgot about it. And we have the Ace of Wands. He is full of fire. And I will tell you, these judges, the ones that they're calling rogue judges, they have so much backing nationally within the legal community, high as the higher ranks can go. There's a Five of Wands, talk about a fight. Spirit, is this over before it begins? Is this just gamesmanship, showmanship, distraction? Is this over before it begins? Eight of Pentacles. Not necessarily. They're going to, they are literally trying to build cases and build their arguments. Are they trying to think of taking this, building enough of a case or cases to take it before the Supreme Court? Is that their plan? Page of Swords, starting it, building a case. Queen of Cups, Bundy, but also this is somebody on the court. This is somebody in SCOTUS. And Seven of Swords, deception. It ain't happening. I don't even think it'll get there. I don't think they'll be able, there's not enough meat on the bones, Spirit is saying, for them to be able to build something sufficient that even on paper, even, you know, cases and legal precedent to take before the Supreme Court. So this is really just a hassle and build fear. Yeah, the Star. It's not going anywhere, you all. Boasberg's order. Now, does that mean, let's ask, does that mean that Boasberg is going to be able to hold Kristi Noem accountable? Is Boasberg going to hold Kristi Noem accountable? Is she going to wind up? I don't see her in jail. I don't see her in jail, but perhaps have to leave her post with the Department of Homeland Security. Is Boasberg going to continue and go at, will he proceed and will he be successful in going after Kristi Noem for defying his order? Is he going to take down Kristi Noem? Six of Pentacles, working at it. And he does, and the King of Wands. Woo, that's Boasberg. You know, Boasberg reminds me on the judicial federal bench level, like a Tish James, like that fire in the, like a Jack Smith, that fire in the belly, not giving up. And the Two of Wands, not giving up. He's focused forward, and he's going to proceed on this case. Will Kristi Noem wind up having to leave? Is she going to get cave and have to leave? Eight of Pentacles. That's the DOJ, Bondi, and all of them. And they're going to fight it. Five of Wands. And the Lovers. A decision. And the Seven of Cups. They're trying to decide what to do with her. They want to rally around her. The DOJ. They want to rally around her. Because she's, you know, again, it's at this point, keeping the people, no matter how far they cross the line, keeping the people you feel like you can trust. That's the only reason Hexets has lasted this long. That's the only reason, and the Five of Swords, that's the only reason many members in the cabinet have lasted this long, that are clearly inept. And talk about incompetent. And the Five of Swords. It's all distraction, you all. It's all diversion. And Boasberg is not going to let it go. But even in trying to make Kristi Noem answerable for disobeying his order, he still, you know, everything goes back because she is undercover of the DOJ. And that's where they're scrambling. And they also recognize that when it comes to Sleepy Don, he's not ready to turn. Right now, she's still doing that. You know, you kept the hurricanes from happening, sir. That's what that's all about. All right, you all. I hope that was helpful. Remember, chin up. I know so many of us are you know, feeling a certain way, like we were right there at seeing a miracle happen in Tennessee. But still, be aware, as many of you already know, the after effect of that, the outcome of that is more than meets the eye. A long game. This is all about a long game here, right? All right, chin up no matter what, right? We got to keep our chins up, shoulders back. Keep your hearts open and aware and healthy and love yourself and love one another. So many beautiful stories coming out now, especially as we go towards the holidays and we're in the holiday season of in tremendous acts of generosity. I saw a video, share with you real quickly. I saw a video, I think it was on Threads. I'm not sure where it was, but it was like an outdoor food stand. And a guy walked up, just visibly, I'm not sure what his nationality was, but he clearly looked like an immigrant. He walked up to the guy, he's at his cart making it wasn't tacos, it was something, some sort of sandwich, like a cheesesteak. I saw steak or something. He was chopping up the meat. And he holds out a bill towards the guy, and the guy waves him off and says, nah, take it. He makes the sandwich, wraps it up, puts all the sauces and the condiments in a bag, and hands it to him and hugs the guy. When the guy, I'm getting a chill as I say this, when the guy went in for the hug, you all, you know when you really hug somebody and you put your head on their shoulder like, going in for it, that guy hugged him back, and that hug lasted for like 15 seconds. It was so beautiful to see. I'm getting a little emotional. But I'm sharing that because that's where we're at, right? Little acts here and there, chin up, shoulders back, coming from your heart. Do what you can. Do what you can. And the ripple effect, it will reverberate, okay? All right, we got this, you all. I'll probably see you back here on Friday. Take really good care of yourselves. I appreciate you. Thanks. Bye.